Brave Maker Show is hosted by Tony Gaffestone and Christina Jackson. Thanks for tuning in. It's showtime.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Brave Maker live show. This is the 18th of December. It's Friday. We're weekly with you every week, and I'm Tony Gaffestone. I am coming at you live from Redwood City, California, and I get to be the executive director of Brave Maker. I am an actor, a writer, and director myself, and I love stories and I love films, and that's why we're here today.
Hey, Tony. I'm Christina Jackson, coming to you from the East Bay. I'm in Dublin, California, and I'm also an actor, a writer, singer, and an LGBTQ+ and disability rights advocate.
Yes, you are. I love doing this with Christina every week. We get to banter back and forth, meet really, really cool people. And before we meet our special guest for today, let me just ask you what we're starting every show with, the question, how are you braving your way this week? What have you done, Christina? How have you braved your way?
This week, I've been braving my way by writing. I am writing and creating new comic book characters. So I originally was doing some fan fiction, and I'm studying with the James Kruger studio, and just basically advice they gave me was come up with new superheroes, which at first I felt really intimidated to do. And then I thought, wait a minute, what a great opportunity. So that's what I'm doing. I'm writing up new comic book heroes, and I'm having a blast.
The world needs new superheroes, so that's cool.
Yeah,
I think that's a really cool assignment. So I started a new script this week. I've been writing feature films and doing some TV pilots, and I had this idea. I was writing something for myself to act in. It's called Last Chance Charlie. It's about a struggling actor and writer who has to deal with the suicide of his sister and also grieve through that while maintaining his family. And then I've been working on another feature film, and we just did a proof of concept for it. And one of the actresses really inspired me, and so I just changed the role. So now it's Last Chance Charlene, and I changed it so that I could work with this actress that I love. So shout out to Allison Ewing. She's great. I'm excited to be able to see what she does with Last Chance Charlene. So yeah, we ask this question every week, everybody, because one little thing a week, you can do one thing, just write a page, make a treatment for your film, create backstories for your characters, or do a sketch or do a storyboard. Every week we can be doing something to brave our way in this industry, because you can't wait around and hope someone else makes your dreams come true, right, Christina?
That's right. Be your own hero.
All right. So, hey, we're really excited to welcome our special guest. She has a very long, amazing career in history that has been one that has braved her own way too. And she had one of the top 10 films, something like that, top 5 films on Netflix over the past couple of weeks. It was called Rust Creek. So welcome, director Jen McGowan.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Jen, congratulations on your film. It's currently rising up, or has been, getting some heat on Netflix. Y'all who are watching, you can find her website, rustcreek.com, and find out more information. We're going to be chatting about that today. But how did that feel to see your film as one of the most popular films in America?
It's amazing. It's amazing because we had no expectation of that and no money to make it happen. So it was fully authentic, which is mind-blowing. I just feel really grateful and happy that all our work got seen and connected with people in a way that we hope.
That is so amazing and beautiful. I think that's all any artist could ever wish for, is that people see the work and they connect with it. I watched Ross Creek, and I cannot believe you're telling me you did it with no money. Some of those scenes were so exceptional. I have so many questions. I mean, I don't want to give anything away, though. It's hard to talk about.
I know, it's hard to talk about.
Because it's a suspense thriller. Let's talk about the explosions. How did those scenes come together?
Way to not give it away. Yeah, we had one take, and that's what we did it in. So, we made very sure that everything was set up the way we wanted it to go, and we rehearsed as much as we could, and we put the cameras in all the spaces that we could possibly find for what I thought I would need to cut it. One time, that's what you get.
That is so amazing. So this film is really difficult to talk about. So I already know there's explosions. Look out for that. But let's talk about the strong female lead. I'm a huge fan of strong female lead. She did such an amazing job. What was it like working with her?
The actress is amazing. Hermione Corfield, I just adore her. She is so hardworking and dedicated. She's a lovely human as well. So she's a joy to be around. And I think she's fantastic. So it was a pleasure.
One thing that really took me by surprise in a really great way is I expected this thriller. I know I did some research, and actually, side note, again, so many of our guests come from connecting online. So thanks, Jen, for the mutual connection on Twitter. She's very avid on Twitter, and I really recommend that you go and find her because she's got a lot to say. Jen, it's really cool. Your presence on Twitter is really great. So I am Jen McGee. So I see you tweeting about kind of the backstory, and we're showing the trailer here. Mm-hmm. So I was really super surprised in a lot of ways. But first, you tweeted something about like, hey, I got rejected from South by Southwest, in which I had a film at South by Southwest before. So let's talk about that. You have this #1 film on Netflix, but you've got this backstory of going, hey, it wasn't an easy road to get there, right?
No, and it never is. But I feel like that's not what people talk about when movies come out. And they talk about just the success, but that's not something that people can replicate. And I want people to be able to replicate what we've done. I want people to have the tools to be able to create the careers that they want. That's important to me because we get cooler shit to watch. So that's why I shared that. It's never easy, and it's never the road that you think that it's going to be.
It's never the road that you think that it's going to be is so true. So that's what really connected me with you at first. I was like, I love people who talk about that very thing, Jen. I think that's super huge. One of the things we want to elevate on the Bravemaker show is the fact that the rejection and the process can often be very painful, and it's littered with a lot of collateral damage in regards to our ego and finances, sweat, blood, tears. So I love that you led with that. But then and you also said, hey, we did this for very little money. In film terms, $1 million is
in film terms
is seems like a lot of money, but in a feature film with action, special effects, a pretty large cast with people who aren't just sitting around a table talking, which you see in a lot of independent films, it had the scope, and I felt really surprised in a good way, like with how beautiful it was shot as well. Like your DP and your whole team did an amazing job, but I know it was grueling. It was in Kentucky, I believe, right?
It was in Kentucky, yeah.
And freezing. So talk about the fact that you were in 10-degree weather, maybe even, I don't know, colder. I don't know. Talk about that whole making.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say thank you for responding to the visuals, because those are extremely important to me. And the DP is Michelle Lawler, and the production designer is Candy Gutierrez. So they made these beautiful images come to life. And we did it in very cold weather. I think the lowest it got was 7. And I, because I live in Southern California, I never really believe what cold is. And this happens every time I go to Sundance. I forget. I think, oh, a sweatshirt's fine. It's not fine. It hurts. And it was very, very painfully cold. And because it's Kentucky, it's super weird weather. Like one day it'll be 20 and the next day it'll be 60. We had hurricane force rains a couple of days. We had actual tornado once that sent us down into the basement of where we were filming. It was bananas. It was bananas.
I think that makes it a fun story to tell afterward, because it makes you see like how amazing your cast and crew were. I mean, and these actors also did a fantastic job.
They brought it. And I have so much respect for these guys because, you know, I really think the difference between those people who really succeed in creating something that people respond to and those that don't is people that commit without hedging. You know, once these actors said yes to me, they were in 100%. And like, it wasn't just the cold, you know, we had to like rappel down to some location. Now me, I love that shit, but not all actors do.
Some of the actors, some actors, you know, they want their trailer, they want the comfort, and others kind of go, hey, I'm doing it however it takes. If I have to sit on a curb and eat my lunch out of a bag while I'm waiting between takes, you know? It's
funny you mention that because Hermione, until this, had only been, you know, smaller roles, but in massive films. You know, she was in Star Wars, she was in Mission Impossible, she was in XXX. And when I had narrowed it down to like 3, I met with her and I was like, look, here's my honest concern. You've never done an indie film. Are you really ready for what you're about to get yourself into? And I honest to God don't think that she was. She said she was, and thank God that, you know, her word, she stuck to it and she committed. But there's no trailers. There's no fancy craft service. It's pretty sparse.
Tell us a little bit more for actors. What does that mean? How do we know you're really ready to do an indie film? What exactly is the difference?
You know, it's that's a really good question, actually, because she and I actually talked about that on the shoot, because she went to I'm sorry, some super fancy acting school in England. And I was like, you know what they never teach actors? They never teach actors like how rough and dirty set can be. And like how they, what's that?
How to suffer?
Yeah, how to deal with it, and like, you know, how to do your job and bring it. That's what you need to focus on, you know, not the fact that you're cold or you're hungry or you don't like somebody. Or I mean, I can't tell you how many locations I've been on in my life where you look in one direction and it's the shot and it's beautiful. Meantime, you're standing on a garbage dump. You know, it's like it's you just got to get over it and focus on the job.
One of the interviews I saw with you and your team and your producer, I think your producer said something like, in the best way possible, you pushed him to limits that he didn't think or expect, and he felt you know better, or he felt, you know, his producer abilities were stretched in a really good way because of you. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about relationships with directors and producers, and then you got your writer here, and I loved hearing how things changed. She wrote this thing, I think it was 10 years ago, maybe it was 7. I mean, the process of all that stuff. Let's start with just director and producer relationships. What do you think makes a really good relationship? How the do's and don'ts? Anything you want to
share? I think that's a great question, and you know, the fact that you were talking about in the beginning, like, what did you do this week? I feel like the director, at least in my experience, needs to be the forward moving force. You know, it's that commitment. Once you're in it 100%, and the train is moving, and people can either come with you or not, but it's going to happen. And that is a very producerial perspective as well, I think. And I don't know. I think sometimes when it got hard, he was surprised I didn't crumble. Yeah. But I was like, no, let's go. Hurry up. Keep with me. You know, let's go. And I think, look, every relationship in this industry is different, which is why I think it can sometimes be challenging to navigate. But when you're working, at least from my perspective, when you're working with your key relationships, right? Meaning the producer, the talent, the heads of departments, those are your partners. These are your partners. Except for the producer, though, no one is on it as long as you are. So you have this small window of time where you have an incredibly intimate relationship, very intense, and then it goes away. I always say that like a director's job is to have their heart broken over and over and over again, because you come up with an idea and you love it. You have to love it. You get to the point where you love it, where you've decided it's amazing before you tell anyone, and then you tell someone and you see their eyes go dark and you're like, oh, Jesus. And that situation happens over and over and over again until you're done with the movie. And then the movie comes out and some form of that happens.
Starts over again. That's right. No, I love that kind of talk. I for myself too, as someone who's writing and directing, figuring out those relationships on set and who's your crew, your tribe of people. It's sometimes really difficult because you have high expectations and hopes, and sometimes those things get let down, and then sometimes you're surprised by who surfaces right along the way.
Yeah, I find with every project I do, I carry one or two people with me to the next one, and that's how you collect your people.
Very cool. So I want to back up here, Jen. I'd like to know, where are you from, and what part of your journey do you feel has made you uniquely qualified to be doing the work that you're doing now?
You guys ask really good questions. Okay, so the basic is I'm from Northern Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. Grew up there, moved to New York when I was 17. I got into NYU, finished NYU when I was 20. Stayed in New York until 2002, and moved out to LA in 2002 to go to USC. There's so many things that I think makes me like, I feel that directing is part of my identity. It is who I am. And in a strange way, it's always been who I am. I was always a kid when I was like a little kid, bossing everybody around, telling everybody what the rules of the game were, it was just, I don't know why, that's just who I am. And luckily I found a positive outlet for that. And then it comes down to particular skills, working with actors. I have the wonderful training of working at the Atlantic Theater Company through NYU. And then obviously training at USC. And also, I just think, I was on a podcast the other day and the host said something really interesting to me. He said, I noticed that with filmmakers I interview, they all have this DIY sensibility. And I have never noticed that, but I do think he's right. I think that you just have to take control and make your life turn out the way you want it to turn out.
I like that. That's the whole brave your own way.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to make your life turn out the way you want it to turn out. That's huge. And also you as a woman have had to make, and crawl yourself up, because it's been we've done a disservice, right? Just culture and patriarchy, very well aware of how I've contributed to that in my ignorance. And that's one of the reasons why we have Brave Makers. I wanted to do better. And for that, I always feel like frustrated that there's so many obstacles, let alone to be an artist in the world, let alone to be a person who's a woman or someone who's LGBT or someone who has a disability or someone who
and you have to balance it, and everybody I think needs to find their own balance. I worked very hard. I also don't believe that it was all due to hard work or all due to talent. There's lots of luck involved. There's lots of white privilege involved. The fact that I grew up outside of DC in a middle class family, the fact that I have good health, all of these things contribute. And I think the tricky balance is figuring out how to do your work and succeed in the world as it is now, while trying to change it into what you want it to be. And, sometimes that means doing one or the other. And sometimes that means doing a little bit of both at the same time.
Mhm.
You are dropping the
Wow.
quotes today. Thank you to
He is.
thank you to Alex Todd, who's on our team, and she's typing them out. So we have these for the future. These are great, Jen. Thank you.
Keeping you busy.
Yeah, I love it. Can you
Mhm.
talk about, because in your work here with Rust Creek, I think it's really fascinating, just the story that, you know, you have this young white girl who's finding herself lost. And I don't want to give away spoilers for how it ends, but I just, you know, in the trailer, even you could see there's a lot of running and there's escaping and there's fighting. And it's really like amazing that this young woman is doing what she does, and then how it ends without giving things away for those who haven't seen it. You obviously brought a perspective here. And even as you were just talking, I wondered if that's like in your work, right? That this perspective of being who you are is in the story of Rust Creek. Is there any correlation?
Absolutely. And the thing is, like, the thing that I've realized over my career, there's really a great gift in having a career that takes so long to happen. And that is that you get to kind of contemplate what's going on before everybody's paying attention to you. You know, you can't hide when you create something. And I like to hide, like I don't write because that's just way too personal. But directing is a comfortable amount of exposure for me. You know, it's like, yes, you watch all my work, you can see me in it. You can't see it as immediately as if I were the writer as well, but you can certainly see and feel my perspective and, you know, my life experience. And I loved hearing in the beginning of this, Christina, that you're writing a superhero, because I actually just had a call with my publicist earlier, and she was talking about how Wonder Woman is a great character, but it was still created by a dude. And that's not bad. We love Wonder Woman, but we do wonder, what would it have been like? And I really think it comes down to, this is a hard thing to discuss, because it's not like being any particular identity is better or worse than another. But when everything in culture comes from one perspective, we all lose out. And the differences are subtle, you know, we're all human. We all have the same emotions. You know, there are universal things about being human, but it comes down to the little details, and those little details can be quite profound for people. That's what I've realized. This is that the audience recognizes. Here's an example. This is a totally benign example. Somebody said to me the other day, they're from Canada. When they watched Rust Creek, they could see the flicker in the actor's eyes that cold was real. I didn't see that. You know, somebody else might not have seen that, but he saw something that was truthful and it connected to him. And those little details are why it's so important that we have lots of different people making stuff.
Yes,
That's
I'm from Pennsylvania.
beautiful.
I saw that too. I was like, oh my God, it is really cold, like real cold. Woo, could never go back.
Yeah.
Oh, I know in filmmaking, you can easily add the breath coming out, but I'm assuming you did not have to do that, because when that breath came out, that was straight up.
And I'll tell you what, I don't think I would ever want to, because even on a big movie, I mean, we'll see what happens if I can convince, you know, people to go into these horrible environments, but it makes you move differently. It makes your voice different. Like the actors in ADR noticed that they really had to work to get their voices to sound the same as it did in the cold. These little details are important.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I
They
love that.
absolutely are.
Can you chat a little bit about your relationship with the script and the way that, you know, things changed, you know, as you developed kind of your perspective as, you know, as actors, as Hermione, you know, playing Sawyer brought the character to life. What were things that changed from the page to the day?
Oh gosh, that's hard to know. I don't think I actually remember, but I will say in one of our interviews this week, the writer Julie Lipson mentioned something, that the last shot of her, I'm not going to say that, but that's not written on the page. The way that I got that wasn't on the page. And that was extremely important to me. And That's the difference between filmmakers. It honestly comes down to little instincts and little tastes and little perspectives, and knowing that those things, you have to listen to them and honor them, because that is your voice.
And did you have, so I'm going to give you a two-part question. Did you have a conversation? How did you work that out? Because we have a lot of people who are writers who do not want to direct, and obviously a lot of directors who will not write. How did you have that conversation? Yeah. How did you work that out with her, your screenwriter?
Well, so Stu Pollard was the producer, and he had retained the rights to this script. So by the time I was brought on, the script was in really fantastic shape. So, and I was brought on as a director for hire. So I think there's certain expectations there that in our industry, how that relationship and dynamic works. I like to be very collaborative with writers, and I have no desire to write. So I'd far rather develop material with a writer and have their voice be consistent throughout the whole piece. Excuse me. So, you know, we did what we do, which is, I mean, basically when I look at a script, I think, can I make it good? Can I make that work? What's on the page? Will it be entertaining? Will it be honest? Do I agree with it? That's pretty much it. And so you go through and you go, I kind of call bullshit on that moment. And this doesn't, I don't know how we're going to do that. That's not going to happen on this budget. You know, so you do those little modulations, and worked out great.
I love that. Anything that you would say to writers, how they can get better on the page? Like, what things do you look for as a director when you're going through scripts that make you think, this person knows what's up, this person knows how to write?
This is going to cause people a heart attack, but every word matters. Every word matters. I take something from every word. You're drawing a picture in my brain. So you have to choose your words wisely, and don't waste that. You know, when you're asking somebody to read a feature script, if they're seriously reading it, they're probably giving you 3 hours of their life. How many things do you ask someone to do for 3 hours for you? It's a major commitment. So don't waste it, and tell a story. You have to tell a story that you believe. I want to see it. When I read it, I want to see it. And then I will say, when it comes to collaborating and working, I do think that the director needs to have ownership over the film. So if you are not a writer that can give that ownership to a director, you shouldn't collaborate with directors. You should direct your own work.
Oh, that's good.
I love that. That is so good. And you can see, Jen, I have to say that comes across in your work so well, that every word does matter to you. I want to go back to your film that did make it to South by Southwest, Kelly and Cal. If you haven't seen this movie, this is a fantastic movie. I watched it years ago when it first came out. As an actor,
amazing!
Yes, an actor now in a wheelchair, I wanted to go back and watch it with a different set of eyes. And Cal's character, this is an actor I didn't know when I first watched it, is not actually a quad. He did an exceptional job, and the words in the movie, he recites a lot of poetry. The dialogue is very profound, and there's a sequence between Juliette Lewis's character and Cal where she tells you can build your identity off the things you've lost, you know, without getting anything away from that movie, which I'm terrible at. And I thought that was so amazing. So when do you know, like, these words are right? You said you don't write, you direct, but you know when you hear it and when you read it that it's right.
Yeah, you know when you hear it. And like, you know, Amy Lo Starbin's a great writer, and it worked. You know, I think also you need to have a certain amount of flexibility. There's this, the director's vision. Yeah, of course. You're making one movie. It needs to be cohesive. You're doing the thing that you want to do. But you also need to have flexibility within that. If somebody comes up with a better idea, take it. You get to take credit for it anyway. Who cares? You know, if somebody comes up even with a different idea, you know, sometimes actors will come in with a slightly different perspective, and I'll go, that's not what I intended, but I can work with that. That works. Let's do it. And I do want to talk about Johnny Weston, who was amazing, because when I made this film, I wasn't aware of, I guess, equity and disability in casting until after the film came out. And I was pretty embarrassed that I had cast an actor that, you know, does not use a wheelchair. I will say that I think I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. So, for example, you know, we gave him a wheelchair 2 months in advance. We had him working with foundations that work with people who use wheelchairs. We made sure everything was authentic, and that one who uses a wheelchair would not know, you know, right away. That was important to me because I didn't want to disrespect people who use wheelchairs. That's the audience, some of the audience for this. And then when we cast, there's a scene, there's an art gallery scene. You know, I told my background casting director, I was like, look, I want to make sure at least half of the people here have legitimate disabilities of some sort. So, but I learned afterwards that this is a really big issue in casting actors without disability. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention that for people who might not know.
That's a really great segue, right, Tony? And so what we wanted to talk about, Tony sent me a great article just before the show. And do you have that article, Tony? It was about Asian actors playing, or Asian actors playing Asian characters and Black actors playing Black, you know, how do we feel about that? And how, my feelings have changed.
I think it's very tricky. And I think that, okay, first of all, we have to all be mindful that we are all products of this culture. Okay. So that evolves and changes as we learn. You know, what is that expression? When you learn better, do better. That said, because the power is so imbalanced in our industry in terms of storytelling, you know, and this is the thing, like he who wins tells the stories, and our dominant cultural force is straight white men. And I have said this on many occasions. I have no problems with straight white men. I love straight white men. I just don't want them having everything. So in that case, you need to think about the context of that. So, okay, well, bless you. So
thank you. Would
it be appropriate for a straight white man to not only have his stories, but also have somebody else's stories? Probably not. But someone who's not in that demographic, can they have somebody else's stories? Sure. Why not? They don't have that power right now. Let's balance this out a little bit. But then the other thing to add to this is, I think it's challenging because we now mix performance and celebrity in ways that we didn't before. I personally don't think actors should have, or excuse me, not that they should or shouldn't, but would prefer if actors did not have accessible presences, because I want them to be only who they are in the movie that I'm working on at that time, and then different on the next one. And that's hard to do when we know actors now so much more intimately as humans than we used to. I think, like all things, everybody has to think about it for themselves and do the best that they can.
I think this is the top conversation people in Hollywood are trying to figure it out in production, is how do we tell honest stories? How do we do the best that we can? Are we doing the best that we can with who has the power, right? And most times right now, I think we'd say probably not. Like there's
no, I mean, the fact of the matter is, look, I think it comes down to human beings are very lazy, you know, and there's only so much time in a day. So when you have a hiring task, you could either text your buddy and have them say yes in 30 seconds, or you could call someone who might know somebody that you haven't interviewed and you don't, you know, so to that, I would say, if you look at your network right now and it is lacking a particular type of person, you need to build that up between hiring.
That's good.
Hiring is not the time to, oh my God, I got to find 7 Asian people. No. Have these people in your life and in your career in between the hiring.
Mhm.
I think that's great. It's about intentionality, right? We have to be intentional and strategic. And I really appreciate that you called it out. Like sometimes
Yeah.
what is easy, it really is lazy. And going back to what you said earlier, if we want to be better storytellers, we need to have different voices, coming at us. And I think that's something I definitely take to heart. Again, that's why we have Brave Makers. So if you're watching live or listening on the replay, I hope you will continue to follow us and like what we're doing, because these are the type of stories and conversations we want to have, because we think they are culture changing. And Christina was referencing an article that just came out in the newest edition of Hollywood Reporter. I don't have a link to it, but I will try to put it in our show notes for later on the replay. But thank you. Those are really good. Any other comments you want to share?
What was the perspective in that? And I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are.
Yeah, the whole perspective.
Yeah.
I think it was from the perspective of animation. I texted it to Christina as she's working on
I
a comic
pulled it
book.
up.
Yeah, so it's an article. I don't even know who wrote it, but it's basically like Matthew Cherry, the guy who did Hair Love, and commenting about all of the white actors who recently stepped down from playing or voicing people of color, animated people of color, and how we need to get back to giving some authentic casting for people in those spaces. And I agree. I would feel uncomfortable playing, voicing a Black character, especially now, knowing what I know, how we just came through 2020 and recognizing, I need to take a step back and I need to give, people of color the opportunity to play a person of color. That's just my perspective.
Yeah.
Christina, did you want to add?
Christina?
Yeah. The quote was by Cree Summer, and it says, "I think that Asian people should play Asian people, and Black people should play Black people, and Native American people should play Native American people." And I do believe that, like Tony said, we're missing that authenticity. I think we should be moving in that direction. And if it calls for a disabled character, find a disabled actor, find an Asian actor, really start doing those things. That's the gift that you're giving to viewers, that authenticity.
That's right. That's right. It's about,
so,
it's not about giving an actor an opportunity. It's about giving your audience something real.
I love that.
It's funny though, because then you get into like one of my favorite movies is Tropic Thunder. Is that okay?
Oh,
no,
I know.
I don't know.
Problematic.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen today. And obviously, they pulled a lot of blackface sketches done in comedy from Saturday Night Live and other sitcoms and stuff. So yeah, there's a reckoning happening for sure. We could do a whole conversation around that.
I think it's really important not to change movies because they're like artifacts of our history and our culture.
Capsules.
Yes, I would rather keep the content as it is and provide context. And say this was common at the time, or this was not seen as unusual at the time. I mean, oh my God, I think of some of like the teen movies I watched in the 90s, and like you go back and watch them, and you're like, oh my God,
horrified.
Holy moly,
horrified.
They said faggot. Like what? That's not okay. But at the time,
sure,
you didn't even hear it.
16 Candles, they're passing around, a drunk girl, right? Like, go have fun. I mean, there's Me Too movement written all over that. So we have come a long way. It's important
that we see them and then say the context, and this is why we don't do that anymore.
Yep. That's great. This has been such a good conversation. We always like to end our time with our favorites of the week. We call it our Brave Faves. Jen, I think I emailed you, so I hope you're ready for it. If not, you got 15 seconds to think about it. But it's one thing that was your favorite of the week. It could be anything, a person, place, or thing. You got 15 seconds to think about it.
Brave Faves. TV shows, films, books, songs, technology, clothing, podcast, food, and more. These are a few of our favorite people, places, and things. Brave Faves.
All right, Christina, you go first. What you got today?
I got a fantastic film for you all. It's called The Handmaiden by director Park Chan-wook. And I'm terrible at giving spoilers, so all I will say is watch the trailer, enjoy the film. It is provocative and beautifully shot and fantastic story. And it's fresh and new, and you will never guess what's happening next, which is fantastic. And it's a queer film with Asian actors. So it's fantastic. Check out The Handmaiden. Oh, I have another one too. I have another one because I had to
Go
do a snack.
for it.
I
She's
do
got
have to.
two sometimes. She likes to throw two in there sometimes.
So I, maybe like a lot of other people, I packed in a couple extra pounds during COVID, and so I started switching to seeds instead of hot Cheetos. And I'm doing the bacon sizzling flavored sunflower seeds. I think the brand is called Big. They are just, you won't feel like you're missing out. You really won't. They're so delicious. The flavor is so intense. You'll love them. They're available on Amazon.
We have the link we'll post in the show notes as well as in the comments. And we always love when food gets shared on the Brave Fave. So there they are. You can check them out. Hope you get hungry. They look very salty, very salty. Okay, so my Brave Fave for the week is somebody we are not worthy of. His name is Ted Lasso. He is on Apple TV. The show, it's just something we all needed right now. It's like super light and hopeful and fun, and it's not like super deep or dark. Which I love super deep and dark. My daughter asked me the other day, she's like, "Dad, you like a lot of dark stuff?" I'm like, "I do. That's the kind of material I like to watch." But my wife and I watched this. It's like 10 episodes, so we watched it like one a day over 2 weeks, and I cried, I laughed. Jason Sudeikis, I loved him on SNL, and he brings this really believable, fun-hearted, warm character that really convicted me that I should be a better person and give people the benefit of the doubt. So Ted Lasso is my Brave Fave for the week. What do you got, Jen? Oh, hold on one second. We lost you. Hold on. There you go. You're muted. There you go. Wait. There you go.
Okay. So I'm going to go with a food one as well, actually. I am addicted to salt and vinegar almonds.
Oh my gosh, that exists.
And I highly recommend them if you like that right in the back.
I do. I love salt and vinegar potato chips, and I switched to seeds, right? Lose some weight, whatever. And I'm eating a lot of almonds now. They have salt and vinegar. Jen,
are these them right here, the blue diamond ones? Are these what we're talking about?
Oh my God, that's a bigger bag than I have found.
God.
That's exciting.
Well, there you have it, everybody. Our Brave Faves for the week. We will post these in our links as well. Let me do our quick little ending, just so you know. Brave Maker is a 501c3 nonprofit. We love doing this work. We really believe that having these important conversations about justice, diversity, and inclusion through the arts is going to make an impact in our world. We love talking to filmmakers like Jen and sharing their movies. If you are not on our email list, you can go to bravemaker.com/buzz, and that'll get you on our weekly email. We don't spam you. We send you good content and reminders that we're going to do these types of shows. If you liked this, please share it, on your social medias. Make sure you go to or find our podcast on all the sites like iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play and Spotify. You'll be able to hear the audio version of our conversation today with Jen in about a week. We're really glad that you're able to join us today. Jen, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for being with us.
Really fun. Thank you for having me. It's great to meet you guys.
We got Kara says this was amazing. I love her candor and just total full-on realness. I look forward to seeing Russ Creek and everything she creates. Yay. Thanks to Brave Maker Film Fest for doing these great interviews. You're so welcome, Kara. We're super glad that you're here. Please go to russcreek.com. And if you haven't watched it on Netflix, do that. Follow Jen on Twitter. She's a fun follow. She's active. I love it. You'll learn about filmmaking from Jen. She's kind of mentoring me in a way too, with all the things she's putting out there. I love it. And you can follow Russ Creek on Twitter. And that's it. That's all we got. We'll end with our animated bumper, but we always like to say that brave stories change the world.
And you are the story.
All right. See you soon, everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at bravemaker.org. Like, subscribe, and share. To become a monthly donor, text the word BraveMaker to 44321 or go to bravemaker.com/donate. Thanks for tuning in.